favorite one out of their choices. Welcome in, welcome in. Y'all probably get so sick of me with that lofi music on YouTube and Twitch. Y'all like, man, does she not know another song? There's only 8 options, and I don't really vibe with all of them. You know what I'm saying? I only vibe with a few of them. So y'all hear the same few songs over and over because I only vibe with those choices. Okay, I'm not choosing nothing I'm not gonna vibe with. Um, Gotta keep the energy positive, right? So welcome in, welcome in. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? What's the vibe? Oh, I just wanted to really tell y'all about this artist real quick. Um, Random ad about the solar system. Okay, so do I subscribe to her on my Childlike CC? If you don't know who Childlike CC is, you need to go listen to some Childlike CC. Okay, she is a great she's Christian rap, but her messages, okay, fire. Um I do not have her on my subscriptions. I probably have her like in my personal YouTube account, but not my business YouTube account, you know? Sis, you are bad. Hold on, I don't think we can play that one. No, you already knew Hard Vibe was my favorite one. Alright, so if y'all don't know who I'm talking about, Shariah Wise, okay, you can find her at shariahwise.com. If you do, okay, listen to Shariah already. But Shariah, now that, okay, when I talk about spiritual artist, okay, she awesome already. Awesome. Okay. Alrighty. And he said, hi, hey, I'm probably gonna butcher that. Dog Walker, hi Celeste. Okay. Don't know what that means. Your boss? That says boss. That says boss. And I'm gonna let you slide with boss, but if you correct yourself, you're gonna get banned. Okay? Alright. Alright. So I wanted to show y'all this song. Hot vibe bad. If it's the way that the song is already 43 seconds in. Like, I've played this song and then stopped midway because ADHD. So I went on to go do something else, you know? So it's like, yeah, amen. And y'all know, don't get out of hand in my chat or you do get banned. I am like that. I will cut off all your access to my energy, okay? Alrighty, just like I would in real life. Alrighty, so it ain't no different on the internet. Okay, get out of line, you gone. Simple as that. Will no longer have access to me. That's all there is to it, right? That's how you should be protecting y'all peace out here. Okay, that's what I want y'all to understand. All right, I'm protecting my peace because I want y'all to learn how to protect your guys' peace, right? Because if y'all knew how to protect y'all peace, y'all wouldn't let Donald Trump into the office. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. If people knew how to protect their peace, and I wouldn't have to get on the internet and tell people how to protect their peace, because I would have known that. I would have known humanity knew how to protect their peace if Donald Trump never got into the office. I would have known. I would not have felt the need to come on here to get to help nobody. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have been like, humanity, they're doing good. They're doing good. They're not struggling. We are gonna get where we need to be. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get to that utopia, baby. Right? And then I seen Donald Trump was elected into office, and I was like, oh God, you guys need help. You're struggling. Oh God. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh my goodness, humanity is struggling. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? That's how I was looking when Donald Trump. I was like, dang, I thought y'all was gonna do something good here, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about everybody, you know what I'm saying? If it applies to you, it applies to you. If it don't, it don't. Wear the shoe if it fits. Always. Okay. If it, you know what I'm saying? If you feel some type of way about me saying that I shouldn't have had to jump on the internet if y'all didn't, you know what I'm saying? If y'all didn't vote for Donald Trump, the good Lord would not have called me to this internet. You understand me? I could have been doing something else. But because Donald Trump is in the office, the good Lord was like, actually, humanity needs help. They need help, bro. And I was like, okay, I've been preparing for this moment. You know what I'm saying? To help. You know what I'm saying? The last 6 years, I've been doing the work. I've been doing the work on self. You know what I'm saying? Energetically. You know, spirit. I've been doing me. Okay, for the last 6 years. Alrighty, I got you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we here. Because humanity needs to grow, learn, and evolve past the hatred, past the racism, past these small-minded beliefs, you know what I'm saying, that are keeping humanity back. Humanity is so far behind because of their limiting beliefs, and not just your own personal limiting beliefs, but as a collective, as 8.5 billion people on this planet, our limiting beliefs on what this can be is what's holding us back. Okay, now, if you don't believe that, I'm gonna let you know right now, we probably not on the same page yet. One day you'll get there. If you're not today, that's fine. I'm looking for the people who are already there. You know what I'm saying? That's who I'm calling to me, are the people who are already there. The people who understand that we do need to bring peace to this planet. The people that understand we do need to grow, learn, and evolve. And that the only things we should see on this planet are love, justice, and peace. All this hatred, all this darkness, it's gotta go. You know what I'm saying? There's no more room for it. Happy Tuesday. How you doing? How you feeling? Let me know down in the chat. But I want to show y'all this song because Shariah Wise is legit. Okay. Wait. Okay. It can only do it like, wait, let me think. I can only play it for a good like 15 seconds. So y'all only get like 15 seconds. Okay. That's it. All right, y'all. I cut it off. Hold on, wait. We got 3 more seconds. All right, no more copyright. Okay, that's it, y'all. Y'all gonna have to look up this song. Okay, high vibe. It's actually abbreviated. She don't write the whole thing out. It's HVBB. So HVBB by Shariah Wise. Let me put it in the chat for y'all so y'all can go look it up. Okay, cause Shariah. Okay, let me putting you on. All right, H. I was gonna put her name first, but I was like, let me put the song first and then put Shariah. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put it in this chat too, in TikTok chat too, because I want y'all to have her music, okay? Because I promise you, if you, especially in your like, let's say dark feminine energy, but dark empath energy, people hear dark and they're like, oh, is it that darkest? No, it's when you stop taking all and any BS and you are only focused on protecting yourself, you know what I'm saying, and doing what's good for you, right? So when you get into that like dark feminine, dark empath, right, that is literally like, and for everybody else, I ain't you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to protect my energy, to make sure I'm thriving, you know what I'm saying. It's very much that I'm not you know, and it's not like they can't help others, it's just that they are going to prioritize themselves over everything. Okay. Hi, Black and Chai. How you doing? How you feeling? What's the vibe? So I can only play 15 seconds. Okay. Um, it is going to be in our high vibrational. Oh, it already is. What am I talking about? I'm tripping. It already is in our high vibrations playlist. Okay, so that playlist, I think we got like what? Where'd that playlist go? So less playlist. Okay. So in the in the high vibrational playlist, there's a bunch of. The ad was loud. I forgot the music was all the way up that loud. Okay, so in this playlist, there's a lot of different songs, a lot of different messages in here, but they are to help you through your spiritual journey. Okay, spreading love, right? Frequency music. If you want more binaural beats and stuff like that, that is only going to be in the mindfulness playlist. Okay, so there's a difference between our high vibrational playlist, right? That's just like, you know, artists out here making music versus our binaural beats playlist, which in the mindfulness, right, which is going to help you elevate your vibrations. Okay, why am I can't find it on this list? There's only like 100 songs. Okay, I just didn't want to spell her name wrong. Right. Okay. I'm not gonna be able to like copy and paste it onto the different device or nothing. So I'm gonna have to retype this. Alrighty. Boom. Alright, so then I'm gonna retype it. Thank you, Samara. I got you. Love bomb. Boom. Sending all the love back to you, hun. Okay. Comment. So I can put this in here. HBBB. If I want it, I can have it. Okay. What? Who also sang a song similar to that? Her beats are different, but Ariana Grande sang a song similar to that. That's what I be telling y'all. These stars, these Hollywood occult stars, bro. They know. They know. They just not sharing it with people like you and me. Okay. They're not gonna share it, even though they are playing in your face. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not paying attention, then it's just doing like that, right? So they do. But if you're not paying attention, it's not really their fault that they're subliminally telling you, right? Telling you with subliminals, so that you would really need spiritual discernment. You would really need to be able to listen to your soul, your intuition, to know that that's what they were telling you. You know what I'm saying? Like, otherwise, you just look at Ariana Grande's song and be like, she just talking about having that money. Like, no, she's not. She's talking about manifestation. So serious. So serious. She's talking about manifestation. And that's how she got so much money. Okay. All right. Never mind. Y'all weren't ready for that. Okay. So, there's a lot of different songs in here. And I'm still adding songs, actually. Every time I find a new, spiritual artist, and I, we gonna put it in there, okay? There's a lot of Janae, okay? Because if you weren't here for when Janae made that switch, okay? Alright, if you ain't noticed, she did make that switch. It was pretty, nobody, no one really talks about how Janae made her spiritual, switch sometimes. And it's really why don't we? Why don't we, as a collective, talk about how Janae made her spiritual switch? She was talking about, some topics we're not gonna really get into, right? To talking about the universe, finding balance within. You know what I'm saying? Now she's talking about these new, these spiritual topics that you got you like, Janae, okay. Who else? We got a lot of people in here. But yeah. Mellow Will, right. Oh, the Throat Chakra song? Y'all need to listen to that one. Y'all need to listen to that Throat Chakra song that's in the playlist. Okay? Alright, because if your throat chakra is out of alignment or you need some help activating it, okay, that song right there with the intentions they spoke over it is gonna help you, baby. Okay? Everything I put into the playlist is to help you guys grow, learn, and evolve. Everything I wish I had when I started my journey. Everything. Because guess what? When I started my journey, there wasn't people out here all over the internet talking about did you start your spiritual journey yet? You know what I'm saying? There wasn't all people who are on the internet on that. You know what I'm saying? When I started my journey, it was very scarce. You know what I'm saying? Very scarce. Okay, so I can imagine the people who started the journey before me, before the internet. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, dang. You did that. You did that. Props to them. But because we have the internet, right, and we are able to spread information very fast, okay, and we're able to spread love, peace, justice very fast through the internet, as you can see, that's why they had to shut TikTok down. Anywho, right, that's why I made all these playlists. You know what I'm saying? I did not spend hours looking things up on YouTube for y'all for no reason. Okay, for my own health. Okay, I did not do that for no reason. I did that because I want you to get an idea of what it is that you're going to be getting yourself into with spirituality, right? What it is that you need to learn while you're along this journey. Okay? Like I said, I came to this planet to learn, right? If you came to this planet and you know your journey here is you supposed to be learning, all right, then you supposed to be here with me learning. Okay? All right, but if you still don't know that's what you're supposed to do yet, I don't know. Might have to come back later. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking for the people who are interested in learning, growing, and evolving. Okay? And speaking love, justice, and peace into this universe. Okay? That's what I'm looking for. That's all I'm looking for. Okay? Because if you're new to this journey, that's fine. And when you get to where you need to be, join me. Okay, that's what join me when you're ready. But if you're not ready yet, you know what I'm saying? There's no need for you to rush. I'm not rushing you to this point in the journey. You know what I'm saying? And thank you. I see you over there with the roses. Exclusive. Period. Love bomb. Sending all the love back to you, hun. Okay. So yeah, we got all these different playlists. All right. Um, let me see. So we got the mindfulness playlist. The mindfulness playlist literally has so many different things. If you're like, I don't know where to start on my journey, go in the mindfulness playlist. You know what I'm saying? Go in the mindfulness playlist. If you're on my YouTube right now, if you're on YouTube right now, or if you go into any of my bios, my YouTube is in there somewhere, right? In the link or in the actual attached thing on TikTok, right? So if you go in there, you go on to YouTube, right? The mindfulness playlist, which has 221 videos. You're like, where do I start? Start with the meditation videos in there, you start with the meditation videos, you work your way up to other things. There are guided meditations for days in there. Okay, there's this one channel I really trust with the guided meditations, so that's why I put it in there for y'all. So if you're like, I don't know where to start with meditation, I'm giving you the answers. I'm literally taking all my research and I'm giving it to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. You know what I'm saying? I'm handing it to you so that you can do this. Like so you can do this on your own, right? I'm here to guide you. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, you know what I'm saying? But I put all the information in your faces so that you can do this, because at the end of the day, I can only help you so much, right? There's so much self work you're gonna have to do. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat any of it, right? There is things you're gonna have to do. There is shadow work. There are gonna be nights where you're in your shadow work journey crying, okay, crying because of the truth that you revealed to yourself, right? The things you're working on, the things you're getting over, the things you're healing, right? There will be endless nights, okay? But there's also going to be good and positive nights, right? That's not the only thing. Okay, that's not the only thing that is out there, but to learn how to, you know what I'm saying, the dark days, the good days, right? You got your transits going crazy in your birth chart, okay? You know what I'm saying? You got retrogrades going on. You want to know how to handle it? I created a whole playlist so that you could handle it, right? So that you would not feel afraid or scared in this journey, okay? I did that because I knew what it was like when I started my journey, and I promise y'all I was lost. Okay, I started my journey, man. I didn't want to touch the shadow work. Okay, I didn't want to touch shadow work at all. I didn't want to even touch meditation at all. I'm gonna be a buck. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I started my spiritual journey, I didn't want to touch shadow work or meditation at all. Okay, at all. All right. When people were talking about you gotta do your shadow work, gotta do that meditation, man, and I was like, you say that, you say that, but I don't think so. I'm not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? And then you get to that certain point in your journey where you're like, they was right. They were right. Let me open up that shadow. You know what I'm saying? You're like, they were absolutely correct. My fault. Let me get my shadow work done. You know what I'm saying? You're like, they were absolutely correct. I need to ground myself every day. When I wake up, when I go to sleep, in the middle of the day, if I feel the energies out of whack. You know what I'm saying? Like, you realize how much people were right as you continue on this journey, right? Because I honestly, I thought I knew best. You know what I'm saying? Hi, how you doing? How you feeling? What's the vibe? Let me know down in the chat. Okay, I truly did think I knew best, guys. Starting my spiritual journey. Okay, I literally, I was like, shadow work. I don't need that. I don't need shadow work. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, as the years went on, I was like, I need shadow work. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wait a second. I need shadow work. Right? Because it's just, there was, you know what I'm saying? It just was like the things that were occurring. I was like, actually, if I just deal with this, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be reacting this way. I wouldn't be handling the situation this way if I were to heal from it. You know what I'm saying? And it took me a minute to realize that on my spiritual journey. It was like, oh, maybe I should start doing that self healing. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I get it. So when you're like, when yes, everyone needs to do their shadow work. Exactly, absolutely. Uh, is it Pam? Am I saying that right? I don't. I hope I'm not butchering it. But yes, Pam. Everybody needs to do their shadow work. Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Great. Yes, I got it right. Okay. So yeah, but literally because it is, man, I tell you, handling situations from a like healing standpoint versus an unhealed standpoint is two separate ball games. And once you start healing, you can tell the difference. You know what I'm saying? You're like, I'm not gonna tell you about yourself today. I'm gonna just protect my peace and head on. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just protect my peace and head on because not today. You know what I'm saying? Because you could tell people about themselves all day, but we're not licensed therapists. You know what I'm saying? We didn't go to school and sit there for hours on end to get a license so we can be like, so like I'm healing myself and I can tell you ain't healed. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times therapists need therapists. You know, but it's like that's the thing. That's what I'm telling you. You got to do your own self healing. Even therapists can only do so much, right? As an intuitive guide, I can only do so much. I can guide you to the water. I can guide you to all the tools you need. You know, chakra healing, crystals for beginners. You know what I'm saying? Everything. I got you. You know what I'm saying? Practice mindfulness. I got you. I can lead you. I can lead you to wherever you need. You know what I'm saying? Shadow work journal. I got you, bro. Where you want to go? Okay. Book of Wisdom, I got you. You know what I'm saying? We do this, okay? What our Be Here Now book, right? We do this, okay? I didn't start this, you know, to watch you guys try to figure this out on your own, okay? Right? I wanted to help y'all through this because genuinely the spiritual journey is one of those, right, that you need a support system. Like like it's yes, you're gonna have your hermit modes where God needs you to really like look inward, right? But you need a support system. Like, and we have our spirit guides, we have our ancestors, but I don't think any of us really should be doing this alone anymore. You know what I'm saying? So many of us have already had to do this alone. And I don't think with all the new beautiful souls that are coming into their awakenings that they should have to do it alone, right? That's just not fair anymore. Because yes, we had to do it alone, but that's because of how the world was, right? But the new energies that we are coming into, new spiritualists should not have to do that. New awakened babies should not have to do that. You know what I'm saying? That should not be a thing. He said, some people speak about change and criticize, but neglect to do their own shadow work. Yeah, that's, I don't understand. Like, you gotta do your own shadow work, bro. You gotta do your own shadow work. I don't understand that not doing the shadow work part. like if you're really in the beginning of your journey, because I feel like we need to like put a cap. We need to put like at least a 5 year minimum on like who we're listening to, you know what I'm saying? Because if somebody just started their journey this year, I would not listen to a single thing Baby said, you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, you still haven't gone through that ego death? All right, see ya. When you're ready to listen, I'll help. But like, you know what I'm saying. But if you haven't gone through that ego death yet, then you haven't understood where you have to let go at, right? Because trust me, it's very easy to get stuck in the dark night of soul and ego death process, right? It's very easy for people to get trapped in that. Okay, because it's a lot. You know what I'm saying? You having to de-learn and relearn everything. You having to change your perspective, change your core values might stay the same based on what you know. You know what I'm saying? But things are gonna change. Like you are going to be changing at your very core. It could be a lot. It could be a lot. It could be a lot. You know what I'm saying? Yes, that ego death. Exactly. You know, and a lot of like when I read Be Here Now the first time I read that book, it was too much. I'm gonna let you know why. Because it was gonna send like if I would have read that book at the time I bought it, like maybe a lot of things in my spiritual journey wouldn't have happened but at the same time I know that if I would have read it then, I would not have the same understanding or understanding of the book that I had a few years later after going through things in my journey. You know what I'm saying? It would not have been the same understanding in here of what it meant, you know, because it does talk about the ego death in that Be Here Now book, right? But at the time, I literally got that in my first few months of my spiritual awakening. Okay, so imagine we just get a whole let's show you this book is very powerful. Okay, is Be Here Now, like this might spark your awakening if you have not gone through one. Right, this just alone with the graphics on the page, right? And then the storytelling in here, right? There's so many. We've gone over this book, right? We've gone over it. It was mostly on TikTok Live, so there is no archive of it, right? Sorry, YouTube. Maybe one day we might, have to come in and I might have to, get some important pages that we're just gonna have to make sure we keep coming back to. Okay, right? Because there's a lot, but closer to the end, is where it starts talking about the ego death, right? And we've gone over this book, and I'm trying to see if I can find the page. It's the one with all the books on it. I don't know if Black or Chai was still in here. They remember when we was reading this book, okay? Every Monday, all right? So now it's Tuesdays, okay? So no, that's further. These are quotes. We gotta still read these quotes. Maybe we'll read some of these today, but I wanted you guys to know that you guys have all these resources at your fingertips, okay? Where's the page with all the books? Yep, there it is. Okay, so he says, in my case, I kept reading the books, but I didn't understand them. And this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, if I would have read this book when I first bought it, which was literally like 3 months into my spiritual journey, I would not have understood them, right? Or understood them on a soul level, right? I would have been sitting there like, what you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Alpert, what? So I would have been lost in the sauce. And that's not what God needed from me. You know what I'm saying? God was like, okay, here, because the books is not going to help you. Let me just show you, right? Okay, I just got to teach you in actuality. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I learned. Was Spirit literally just put me through tests, tribulations, trials, and was like, you're gonna use that alchemy skill now? You know what I'm saying? Spirit's like, you're gonna use alchemy now? Hey man, it was wild. Okay, before I started, like, because I knew of alchemy and I knew how to use it, but when I started implying it, right, that's when it was like time to come back to this book. You know what I'm saying? That's when Spirit was like, now you can read the book. Here you go. Years later, right? So, like I said, spiritual discernment, right? You have to strengthen those things. It can be strengthened taught wise, right? I can teach you how to strengthen it, but I can show you better than I can tell you. Okay, so so I do, right? I can show you guys better than I can tell you guys how to strengthen your intuition, how to strengthen your spiritual discernment, right? So that's why we do the conscious game nights. Okay, it's conscious because we are consciously aware while we're playing games. We're not using them just to, distraction. We're not using them as, to consume. We're using them to benefit our spiritual gifts. Okay, so that's why we play conscious game night. All right, Among Us is honestly the best game that I found for that right now, because of the levels where it can be super easy or super hard. And when I say hard, I mean you're gonna have to use your intuition and your spiritual discernment anyways, because there's no way you're figuring out who done it if you don't. Okay, so like that's what I mean. Okay, if you're interested in that, all you have to do is join our Discord server. Okay, to join the Discord server, we play Friday nights. Okay, so you can play weekly with us if you want to join like the official weekly team for it, or if you just want to play, you just want to play for fun, you can join as well. Okay, so it doesn't have to be an every week thing. If you want to do it every week, right? Like I tell y'all all the time, the more we grow, the more opportunities there will be for the collective to eat too. Okay, because I'm hey, at my table everybody eat. Remember that. Remember that. At my table everybody eat. Okay? So let's get into this. But this is he said I didn't understand them. Yeah. They were yelling the secrets, but I couldn't hear them because I was looking at them from the wrong place, right? And I like the little bookshelves that it has on here. I always show y'all the pictures when it's a picture book. Okay. So but he's serious, and this is what I experienced. My cousin is calling me. I love you, sis, but I'm gonna have to call you back. Alrighty. So what was this? So yeah, but what you could, in case right, this is what I was experiencing. Like when I read this again, back in last year, when we read it again last year, I understood this is why God told me to pause when I did, right? Because I was going to be doing exactly this. I was going to read the book, not understand it at all, because I was looking from the wrong place, from the ego and not from the Holy Spirit, right? And all the secrets that are in this book, this Be Here Now book, this stuff go deep. Okay, I promise you, do not read this if you are just at the beginning of your journey, because you got to take it slow. Everybody, I'm not one to tell you to learn everything fast. Why? Because I personally almost went through a spiritual psychosis, okay, because I did exactly that. Tried to learn everything too fast with my ego attached, right? So when I learned that I had to detach the ego right before that I could, do what I gotta do, right? That is when, that's when that whole mind fog, everything just disappeared, because it was like, I was like, epiphany moment, right? But this is why I tell you, do not deep dives and go down rabbit holes in and day out. Okay, you don't need to be in the rabbit holes of infinite intelligence day in and day out. That can break your psyche. Okay. Remember, it's infinite for a reason. Okay, I'm telling y'all, you can't be in infinite intelligence. You can't be researching infinite intelligence day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a lot. That's a heavy mental load, right? To also process on the physical realm. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be so all up there. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be so up, so high. so up with the divine that you forgot you had a human vessel. You know what I'm saying? Like if you keep you know what I'm saying. That's why it's important to stay grounded. You know what I'm saying? Grounded in the physical and the spiritual. Okay, because if you don't stay grounded in the physical and the spiritual, you go woo, 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 into the wind, or you are doing way too much in the physical. Right? There's that's why there needs to be a balance, right? Because if there's no balance, then you're doing way too much in either or realms when you're supposed to be a being who can balance both realms, right? That's why humans are technically stronger than archangels if we got it together. You know what I'm saying? If we really got it together, because we have a physical form and a spiritual form. You know what I'm saying? That's why humans were given, you know what I'm saying? Because that's why that whole debacle, we talk about the Bible, or like, oh, why did he think that, he was superior to humans? But because humans did not know that they were the one, you know what I'm saying? That they were like the final project, and it was like, we are watching the final project and we gotta get it together, right? Because the ether's just watching, they trying to help, you know what I'm saying? They trying to help. But at this point, with the viewpoint, especially from 2024, when I started this channel, right, in 2024, the viewpoint of the ethers was what the actual heck, guys. Like, the ethers was blown. Okay, now, yes, did they understand that the energy was where it was, so that was most likely going to happen? Yes, but at the same time, it was a huge disappointment in the collective, in humanity, because of how it should not have played out. Okay, y'all know I be talking, but all this to say, back to our original point. If I had read this book prior to letting go of my ego, it would have not hit the same. Okay, but do not go on spiritual psychosis mode. Okay, they will lock you up in the cuckoo house. Don't be out here talking about you and only you are God. They will lock you up in the cuckoo house. Okay, remember, we are all God. Each and every single one of us. Okay, that's also something I learned from this book. The book is so funny. The guy went up to his friend that he knew, right? And he's like, he's in the asylum. Okay, he in the house with the cuckoo people, and he, bro, like, he's sitting there, and I'm not making fun of them or nothing like that, just so y'all know. I just joke a lot. All right, so what you call it? So yeah, he going in there, and he's like, why are you out there and I'm in here? And he's like, because you're telling people that you're the Messiah. That's why you're in here. That's why they won't let you out. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, but you say the same thing. And he was like, I'm not saying the same thing. I'm saying that we are all the Messiah. You are saying that only you are Messiah. I'm saying me, everybody else I see are the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? There is a difference. Okay, between that you see, and that was a very clear distinction between someone who went through their ego death and someone who hasn't, right? And honestly, you don't learn that until you learn it. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone thinks that ego death is gonna be so easy, but it's not. Okay, that's the part a lot of people get tripped up on. Okay, that either makes them stop or keep going. That makes them, you know what I'm saying? Because if you have to take 50 steps back to go 50 steps forward, then, in your spiritual journey, you're going to have to, you know what I'm saying? But if you're not willing to do that back and forth, up and down, side to side, you know what I'm saying? Do all that, okay, during the journey, because sometimes it's like that, right? The natural up and downs of the journey, okay? Like, if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to push through that ego death, right? You're not gonna push through that, okay? Into your rebirth, right? Okay, into your higher self. You're not gonna push through the phases. All of them are non-linear phases, okay? Even though we talk to them like it's like, we talk about them like it's, oh, you just do this, you do that, and then you do this, and you do if it was that easy, there would be so many more enlightened souls. right? There would be so many enlightened souls if it were that easy, right? But it takes dedication, it takes focus, okay, and it takes you to not give up, okay, even at your lowest point, all right, because Dark Night of the Soul is like, if you didn't learn from that, you know, like if you didn't learn from your Dark Night of the Soul to get your stuff together, nothing pushed you to be like, nah, actually I need to, you know what I'm saying, I need to start working on my stuff, you know, start getting into the, you know, you start getting into the spiritual things, you start, and it could happen any type of way, okay, not everybody starts getting into the mystical part of the spirituality, you know what I'm saying, not everybody starts here, okay, getting into about, you know, tarot, okay, magic, not everybody starts there, all right, some people start right here, right, they practice mindfulness, they heal their chakras, they do yoga, they do breath work. You know what I'm saying? That's where some people start their spiritual journeys. Some people start their spiritual journeys how Dr. Alpert started his, right? They was smoking that tree and that shroom. Okay? So that's, you know, it is different for everybody. But whether you continue, right, like once you start doing wellness things, stuff to treat your body right, treat your mind right, treat your spirit right, you're gonna naturally come into spirituality naturally, because that's where you know what I'm saying, it's just natural, you know what I'm saying. Now if you get into all the mystical things about spirituality, um depends, you know what I'm saying, it just depends on what you're supposed to be doing in your journey, right? Some people literally, yoga with Adrienne, sis, that's her thing, that's her thing. She was meant to just make yoga videos, okay, that was her thing, all right, she still be doing her thing, and some of her videos are in our mindfulness playlist because she is a great yoga instructor, okay, so if you see her videos in there, but like that's what she was meant to do, was help people get into the yoga asana, okay, all right, so that's why she do that, right? But not everybody's going to get into tarot or witchcraft, you know, herbs, you know what I'm saying, not everybody's gonna get into those things, okay, you might grow, learn, evolve into them, but not, you know what I'm saying, if somebody don't bring it to your attention, you might just stick with what you got, which was really working for you, you know what I'm saying, what's really calling you, okay, and that's okay, right? But the journey is not linear, we know this, okay, everybody has their own, I wouldn't say place, but everybody has their, I was reading this word, but like spirit, a different word, please, I'm just looking at the word on my page, oh god, y'all know I crack myself up, I can't explain it, there's the look, oh, there is higher self, shadow self, ego self, right, all reside in one brain, okay, they all reside in one brain, okay, so whoever's laughing, I don't know, all right, but they all reside, they're all the same voice, okay, my voice, right, but I can differentiate because of what message they're sending at the time, right, I know when my shadow self is speaking because my shadow is like, you know, and then when my ego is talking because I'm like, wait, that's ego, right? And then I know when I know when my higher self is talking. Okay, if you don't know those things yet, you've got to learn, but that's okay because that's what we're here to do. Okay, because honestly, I've always differentiated my higher self, ego, and shadow self. I just didn't know that's what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize it, you know? And my shadow self, okay, used to always say the most horrible things already to the ego self, right? That, and higher self never used to say nothing, okay? Because higher self was just sitting in the back, like, ready for me to take control? You want me to lead? You know what I'm saying? And here's Shadow saying, no, no, saying all these awful things. So you can imagine in your head when your thoughts are you know, just on the negative side, and you're like, like, where are these coming from? Your subconscious, right? Your shadow, right? You gotta work on those things, right? And I didn't know this as a kid, right? I didn't know this with crippling depression or anxiety as a kid. You know what I'm saying? How am I supposed to know that my subconscious was literally just screaming what I was thinking back at me? And you know what I'm saying? Like it was like, oh, you know, it was one of those moments. It was one of those moments. When I realized it, and that's what sparked my spiritual journey. Actually, was when I realized it, and it was a video that mentioned it, and I was like, wait a second, you mean those depressing thoughts that be acting like they be shouting in the back of my head? They what? You know what I'm saying? So I definitely was like, that's what sparked my journey. Yeah, because I was like, I can change how I think, my perspective. I don't have to think that way anymore. You know what I'm saying? I was definitely like sitting there like excited. Did I know that what meant I had to do shadow work? Did I know that meant I had to do shadow work? No. No, I did not know that meant I had to do shadow work. And did I try with all my being to run and hide from shadow work? I did. I did. At the beginning of my journey, I really thought, I really thought. And it was cute. It was cute, right? Until, spirit guides, ancestors, God looking at you like, so you gonna do this shadow work? Nah? Okay. Boom. Have fun with that. Why am I feeling all these emotions? Exactly. Why am I feeling? Because you ain't do your shadow work. That's why. That's why you're feeling like that. You know what I'm saying? That's why the energy's got you looking crazy right now. Because you ain't do that shadow work. You ain't doing that healing. So you ain't know how to move through this energy. And this energy gonna hit you where it hurt. That's the lesson when I realized that your girl got into that shadow work heavy. You know what I'm saying? I got into that heavy. I was like, my fault for playing around, good Lord. My fault. You're right. I should have been doing this the whole time. You know what I'm saying? But I was trying to run, right? So, where we at? Exactly. I was trying to run. Book says literally I feel like me and Dr. Albert like had such like similar experiences when it came to certain things that it was like so funny because it's like that was my problem and I couldn't get my head into the right place. And it was like bro, so relatable because I started my journey and I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing here. Yeah. That's the ego. That's ego. You know what I'm saying? Hey, one thing to tell you about this spiritual journey, you don't know a single damn thing. Okay? You'll learn that. You don't know a single damn thing. Excuse my language, but you don't. Right? But that's what you learn on this journey is that honestly, just act like you know nothing and just let the Lord teach you. Because at this point, we don't. At this point, we don't. Right? We don't. Okay. And he says he couldn't get his head into the right place. I still wanted to know. I knew, see? Right? I still wanted to know. I knew, see? Like, he's like, I was still Western rational man. A Western rational man. Okay? This is about his time in India. And he was a scientist looking into the effects of ganja and shrooms for spiritual awakenings and stuff like this because of the heights they reached in while they were in those states. They wanted to know more about it, right? So you realize that they could not just keep chasing a high because they would just come back down and none of the work that they did up there would stay. Right, and he talks about that in this book too, and he's like, oh, if I took my ego, it's like I have to take my ego with the help of the medicinals, right? We'll say medicinals, okay. And then I'm learning all this stuff. It doesn't matter because once I come down from that from the effect of the medicinals, right? Boom. All of that didn't matter. Whatever you learned, whatever you saw, it didn't matter because you haven't done actual work, right? You're trying to take the ego to see something that was pure and divine, and your ego can't come, right? Once you realize your ego can't come, right? Once you realize your vessel cannot come, your vessel is tied to the ego, right? Your ego is tied to its vessel. It cannot come here. It cannot come to the divine. It cannot come learn divine knowledge. It can't. Why? Because your soul can. Your soul can. But your vessel can't go past this physical plane, right? Your soul can. Your soul can anywhere it wants. You know what I'm saying? It's just energy at the end of the day. But your vessel cannot, right? So once you realize that your ego way of thinking is just what your vessel has, curated to believe, you know what I'm saying? None of that can come. Right? None of that can come. Okay? So I went and I looked and looked and looked, and as long as I looked like a rational man looking, I didn't find anything. He said, if as long as I looked like a rational man, if he kept thinking from his left hemisphere of his brain and refused to use his right hemisphere of his brain to get outside of the box, right, he was keeping himself in his limiting beliefs about what all of this could be. Okay, then I didn't find anything. I just found my own shadow. And all the time, that's all you'll ever find. Yourself. You only read to yourself. You only talk to yourself. You only ever know yourself. That's all there is, strangely enough. Right? It says, I saw that my whole game didn't work. It gave me all the rewards that seemed to be offered, but it didn't work. There was a place in me that knew it wasn't working. I knew there was something else, but I couldn't get to it. At that point, I gave up, and then I was ready for the next message. When I went through the doorway, I thought, wow, it isn't like I thought at all. I mean, if I'm going to spend my life manipulating this puny ego through a set of power games and sensual gratifications, what's the payoff? The end is that it's going to end anyway. The end is that it's going to end anyway because it's all in time, right? And suddenly I dig who I am at that moment when I'm stoned, high, and I'm out of time and out of space. I am, but boy, does it feel valid. Does it feel real? It feels like the first real thing that's ever happened to me. Everything else had a certain hustle, like quality to it, except my suffering. Ooh, I'm trying to find the next page. And he goes into this ego death. He's talking about it. No, not this page. This is just talking about the. Oh, maybe I went too far down. It's all included in each other. Wait, okay, so it must be that. Frequency. Okay, this is talking about crown chakra. Hold on. Wait. Let's spend these last couple pages. Wait, where's that one where the guy is looking at the other guy? And he's like, hold on, guys. I'm trying to find this page. Okay, wait. Been born. This is about the rebirth. Okay, wait. It must be there's a page where they were all standing. Oh, because here it is, because it's talking about the psychosis. You're right. You're right. There's another page. I wonder if it's on that page. This is about to. Welcome in, guys. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Let me know down in the chat. Oh, is business in the interesting business? If you're going, I guess we can just read this page. Okay. So I was trying to see, like, he had like a really good picture. I don't know. I think I can find that picture for you guys. Okay. These are good pictures too. We're using, right? So that psychosis business is an interesting business. If you go through the doorway too fast and you're not ready for it, you're bound hand and foot and thrown into outer darkness, right? This is basically what I've already explained to you guys. If you take your ego through the door, right, you'll be more confused than when you were outside the door, right? Because spiritual psychosis will knock everything out of whack, and you won't know who to trust, or where to turn, what's real, what's not, because you're doing way too much. Okay. Right. This is why I tell you guys, don't dive into this information day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? It's infinite intelligence, okay? Spiritual wisdom is not for the faint of heart, right? It's divine knowledge, okay? Take it in slow and when you're meant to and called to, okay? Alrighty. Yeah, like this book definitely is for those of you. I don't know too many people who are in this stage yet, but those of you who are in full enlightenment, like have reached enlightenment, right? Because that's technically where we're talking about higher self, reaching enlightenment, right? Those that have reached enlightenment, okay. Thought process. Words. When that happens. Got a whole thought prepared, and then you go to say it, and your brain is like, okay, so I forgot, and you're like, oh. Brain, please, just give it to me. All right, if it comes back, I'm gonna explain my point again, but it'll come back. It'll come back probably at the most randomest point in the live, and it just. At this point, bro, I might just text y'all in Discord, okay? So if you ain't got the Discord, make sure you're in the Discord. Link is in my bio. You gotta copy paste on TikTok. Yeah, copy paste on TikTok. Put it in the link into the browser to see the Discord channel. It's like the 5th one now. Wait. Like 4. It's a on there. It's a Discord server, Brady Bunch hideout. Okay, so if it comes back to me, I'll put it in there because we about to get off the live. Yeah, it has. I'm looking at the time. I was like, wasn't it just 57 minutes? Yes, it was. All right, so you may land anywhere, and lots of people end up in mental hospitals. And the reason they do is they went through the door where with their ego on, and now wait, it always gets me because this book like goes like this, so sometimes you gotta like read this, you're reading normally, and then the other times you're reading here, and then you're going all the way here to read here. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I gotta be making sure I'm reading the right sentences and that it flow correctly, because I'm like, see, there has to be a picture of this. I swear there's a picture of this, man. So, I don't know. Why is this like so vivid in my head? But it, like I don't know. I have to look for the page later, guys. Ego, and they don't understand. They gotta die to be born, right? That only when you have been born again do you enter the kingdom of heaven. So they've gone in on the first round, and that what happens is they go on a huge ego trip, and it's called the Messiah complex. It's called paranoia, delusions, or grandeur. That's what I'm trying to warn y'all against. Okay, as somebody who, if I would have literally got through this part of the book, probably would have avoided that spiritual psychosis almost happening. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But I'm warning y'all that you do not dip into the things of spirituality, into spiritual knowledge and wisdom, into infinite intelligence without letting go of your ego. Okay? You can't do it. It's not gonna be fun if you do it. Like I said, outer darkness. You trying to see into the light, and you got pushed out because your ego can't come in. Like, it's a lesson that we all have to learn at the end of the day, but I'm just trying to make sure you learn it before you have to, go through it. You know what I'm saying? But some people might have to. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, not everybody, is not supposed to go through a spiritual psychosis, right? But most of the time you can get through it, right? If you reground yourself back in the physical and the spiritual, right? But when you are too centered in the spiritual, that psychosis business is an interesting business. Okay, you tell it to you straight. Okay, it's not fun, and they will lock you up in a mental hospital. Okay, alrighty. Okay, it's not a joke. They will. Okay, he's talking about the Messiah complex, and this is the story. It was his relative. I thought it was just a random friend. I real life remembered it as a friend. It says a relative. Okay. This is the story I was just telling y'all about, but I need y'all to hear this. And what's the difference between an ego death versus someone who is trying to take their ego into their spiritual journey? And I'm sorry, Buki, but everything your ego knows is a lie. So it can't come. Okay, it can't even move past that vessel. Like, it literally, it's attached to the vessel. It's gonna stay right there. It can't come with us. You know what I'm saying? Okay, because you are not your like this identity. You know what I'm saying? You are your soul, right? Alea, you know what I'm saying? Alea, as this vessel, is only going to be present on this planet. You know what I'm saying? I don't know my spirit name. They won't give it to me. More like, as you can see, my spirit guy is like the some information, but some information they really gon'. Are you ready for it yet? Okay, but that's good for some people. But like I said, not everybody's gonna go through the spiritual psychosis. If you learn that lesson early, but if you do, the only way to get out of it is to recenter and reground yourself in the physical and the spiritual. Okay. If you're too locked in, I mean, we already know what happens if you're too locked in with the physical. Okay, we've seen it every day. All right, every day we see it. We don't have to look far. Okay, we really don't have to look far. I probably could go find somebody down the street who is too attached to the physical. You know what I'm saying? So, when it comes to the spiritual, though, that's a whole different story. Okay, that's a whole different story. Somebody is too attached to the spiritual, right? While in a vessel, right? Baby, They're gonna be right here with this relative in the mental hospital because you cannot outbalance the two. You have to be in balance, yin and yang, light, dark, physical, spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, got to be in balance. So his relative who was in the hospital, he thinks he's Christ. He's literally like, I'm Christ. I'm the Messiah. Me, 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 me. Right. Well, that's groovy. The author says, I am also Christ. You know what I'm saying? That's groovy, but I am also Christ. You know what I'm saying? But he doesn't think I'm Christ, right? He doesn't think, like, his relative don't think he's Christ. He's like, I'm Christ, me, 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 right? And then he looking at him and he's like, okay, cool, that's cool. You can think you're Christ, but I'm Christ also. And he's like, you Christ also. Who do you think you are? That's ego, right? That's ego talking. What are you talking about? What are you on about, relative? Because you talking about you and you alone are the only Messiah, but you locked up in a mental hospital? Stop playing with me. Anyway, like, what are you talking about right now? On about what? Okay, so he doesn't think that, he said, I don't think that you're, he said words, but he doesn't think that I am Christ, right? He thinks that he is Christ, but it happened to him and he took his ego with him, right? So he took his ego with him, with obviously, right? If you're talking about some I'm Christ and nobody else is Christ, that's very egotistical, very Messiah complex, you know what I'm saying? Very like, you went through the door, but you thought you can, whee your way through with the ego, and the ego has you locked out of heaven. What secrets do you think you're learning with the ego? You're not. Your ego gotta sit back seat, bro. It's gotta take the back seat and be passenger princess from the now on. You know what I'm saying? Your higher self should be the one in the driver's seat, never the ego. Okay, ego, shadow self, they need to be in the back seat or in passenger princess. Ain't nowhere else. Okay. So he says, you don't understand, right? Okay, wait, my bad. So he says, I'm special, right? The guy who's locked up in the asylum, right? He's like, I'm special, me, right? And when I say to him, author is like, and when I say to him, sure, man, you're Christ, and I'm Christ too. That's when he say, no. Sorry, guys. Okay. Like I said, I do not like being interrupted during when we trying to have our time. Okay. Okay. So let me see where we at. He said he looks at him and he's like, "You don't understand." And when he's out, he steals cars, right, and things like that because he needs them because he's Christ, and that's all right. Right, like that's what he's saying to him. You know what I'm saying? Saying to the author right now, looking at him with a serious face, sitting in the mental asylum, going, "I'm Christ. You're not Christ. I'm special. Okay, and when I need things, I get them. So if I need a car, I'm gonna take a car." Like the author is like, I can't even. Spirit guy's like, be nice. He's like, I'm looking for it, man. Because are you okay? You know what I'm saying? I think your ego really got you into some stuff that you don't know how to get out of. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's looking like right now. Right? Like, are you okay? And so they locked him up. You know what I'm saying? Reasonable, because you out here talking about your Messiah and then you're stealing cars. So they locked him up, right? And he says, I don't know. Me? I'm a responsible member of society, right? I go to church, Me, they put in a mental hospital. You're free. You got a beard. You wear a dress. You sure? Because as far as I'm concerned, we are all God. That's the difference. If you really think another guy is God, he doesn't lock you up. Funny, funny about that. You know what I'm saying? And that's true. If you see the light in everybody, you see the God in everybody, right? Like, that's what's gonna shine through them. Now we ain't talking about them demons, okay? In human clothing, we ain't talking about them, okay? Right, but you're talking about, when you see the good in everybody, right? That good can show up, right? If you see everybody as God, right? But I'm not talking about the demons that be out here doing the dusty, crusty little things. I ain't talking about them. I'm just talking about people who just, they need you to bring that light out of them just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They need you to be your light so that their light can shine. I'm talking about them, not the demons. Okay, we ain't talking about those people. Nobody care about them. Okay, whatever they got going on, they got going on. But I think it's just like he's talking about. I go to church. He, you know what I'm saying? And he's talking about all these things. That he did and how he was a responsible member of society. But then in that like same sentence, bro is like, nah, I robbed a car because I'm the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between going on this spiritual journey with your ego attached versus with your ego death, right? But you cannot get far until you experience that ego death. And I want y'all to remember, it's not a linear journey. Okay, it's not straight easy past this one test. You know what I'm saying? Going to this that hey, it's back forth, up, down, side. Okay, all around. You know what I'm saying? You might do a couple circles on the spin. You know what I'm saying? God starts in the chat period. But like you might do a couple circles on that one lesson. Like let me just. Why can't I? Okay, wait. Finally, you know what I'm saying? But if you give up, you're not gonna get through nothing, right? But if you keep pushing through it, right, it's going to get easier. Okay, it's going to be so worth it when you get to a point in your journey and you look back on how much you've grown, right? How much you've learned and how much you've evolved. Okay, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't. 6 years ago, Alea was a whole different person. I promise you that, right? And y'all, my post literally, I made a post about it. What was that, yesterday? I made a post, and in that post I said, I was like, my plan, like even though I was like on the right track intuitively of what I should have been doing with my life, right? And I found that out later on, right? But I thought what God meant, right, when I was like, 10 through like 11, 12 years old, when I was going through really bad depression, right? I thought what God meant, like God was like, yo, you got a purpose here, you got something to do here, I need you to do it. You know what I'm saying? I thought, that meant your girl was gonna be one of the biggest film directors out there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I was really into at the time. I was really into film. I just had this like, real interest in it. And I was like, yeah, that's what you're telling me. Let's go, let's get it. 8 Oscars. I'm winning 8 Oscars for best movies because I'm gonna be telling the best stories. Everybody's gonna be, feeling the emotion from my stories. They're gonna really, you know what I'm saying? Like they gonna, I really thought, like I tell people all the time, I really thought that's where I was gonna end up. But God did not want me with them occult Hollywood stars. Okay. God didn't want me associating with them, and that's okay. I'm cool with that. I don't want to. I don't want to. Why would I want to associate with those Hollywood occult stars anyway? Like, they're weird. They do black magic. They're into some dark stuff. I'm okay. I'm glad God got me out of there in time. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad. I'm glad, y'all. Okay. So I know we didn't do our mindfulness practice when we came in, but we really needed to talk about some other things regarding the channel today, so we had to get that in. Okay. Like I said, y'all know where the mindfulness stuff is at always. There's the mindfulness playlist, the boss up playlist, and the high vibrational playlist. Okay, that's just got music in it, you know what I'm saying, from all different types of genres, okay, that have helpful messages to help you on your spiritual journey, especially like affirmations, you know what I'm saying. So those kind of songs are in that one versus the mindfulness playlist, which will have like more binaural beats, okay, more high frequency music, right? Meditation music, right? Guided meditations, guided yoga, okay, guided breath work, right? All of that is in the mindfulness playlist, okay, all of it, right? The Boss Up playlist, right? Boss Up Your Brain playlist is the playlist that is specifically for all the works of literature and that we need along this journey as well. Information that will help us to grow, learn, and evolve. Okay, remember, I put that together because if I had that 6 years ago, it would be okay, right? I would not have struggled the way I did. Okay, period. All right. So that's why I give them to y'all. So y'all don't struggle. I don't want y'all to struggle on this journey. Okay. Now the only way you're gonna struggle with me on this journey is because you didn't want to do the work. That's it. That's the only way. That's the only way you will struggle with my help. That's the only way. It's just you don't want to do the work. But I don't really want to help you if you don't want to do the work anyway. I love y'all. Okay, remember, speak love, justice, and peace. Y'all have a blessed day. I will see y'all tomorrow. Okay, peace out.